Hey everyone, Cat Goblin Martin here, and welcome to episode 2 of Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights Facts, the series where I take a look at some really obscure things held inside the game. Today's fact is probably going to be a very obvious one, as I'm sure many of you watching this have probably experienced this while playing the game. When you enter a part or room in the game, you have a couple of enemies in that room. You immediately defeat them and move on to the next part. If you go back and revisit that same room, you'll encounter the same enemies again. Or if you got one of the professor's inventions, some new enemies might literally pop out of nowhere. However, in some areas, a few of these monsters that you encounter in a room are gone forever. In this fact, I'm going to be talking about all the despawning enemies in the game, as well as how to save a few of them. Let's start with the most obvious ones. The enemies that assist all 4 bosses will despawn from that part, and while I'm at it, I guess the bosses permanently perish as well. So we have the Witch, and I guess Lightning Cloud with the Black Knight, the 4 toxic plants with the Green Ghost, the Ghosts and Ghosts of Captain Moody with Redbeard, and then the Funland robots and Space Kooks that help out the Mastermind. The one thing I wish this game did was make all the bosses replayable, similar to how Scooby-Doo in the Spooky Swamp did it, where you have a lever that you pull after you beat a campaign, which lets you do all the boss fights again. Although if you're playing on GameCube or PS2 and you just have 2 memory cards plugged in, you can make a save file before each boss fight, so I guess that works too.
Scooby-Doo? That's a Scooby-Don't.
Let's start with the crabs and Fear in the Pier parts 2 and 3. When you're on your way to get the double jump springs, you'll see them move along the boardwalk, being a potential hazard, especially since you know you're on tar, which makes it so they can't jump or run. Once you defeat the Black Knight, you get awarded the galoshes, which makes traversing tar much easier, and when you come back to the pier, you'll see that the 4 crabs are replaced by 3 tar monsters. So now that solves the question on where all the tar came from. It's not a huge deal since they're just crabs, and plenty of these guys appear in Shock in the Dark Part 1, but there's no real reason to come here without the boots since you can't jump onto anything, plus the invisible walls. On the bright side, the tar monster does sound really goofy when you approach him in this part, so there's that, and this is the only instance where another enemy replaces the ones already here.
Oh boy!
Right? Rummy!
The first enemy that you can actually witness despawning is actually the witch that hovers over this giant fan in Mind Your Manners Part 1. If you take her out, she's gone forever, and she is one of 4 enemies that permanently despawns once you defeat them. What makes her so special is that after defeating her, the fishing village theme plays, making the mood and atmosphere of this room not seem really scary at all. I remember first entering this level as a kid with my parents, and with the evil music and all, I thought this place was going to have something truly diabolical or scary. But then the nice music sort of changed how I felt. The fan that you can activate can also kill the witch. Now if you're wondering how to keep her in this room forever, just don't eliminate her. And when you revisit this room after completing the game, you can defeat the witch as much as you want, but make sure not to save. You can also do this to 2 other enemies I'll talk about later.
Right? Scooby! Scooby snacks! Rahoo! Right? It's a werewolf!
The ghost of Geronimo is probably the most out-of-place monster in this game. You encounter 2 of them in this narrow hallway past the manor's kitchen. He's also one of the more unique enemies, having 2 different attack animations, and he's quite goofy galloping around. You encounter him again on the rooftops of Mystic Manor in A Dark and Stormy Night Part 2, where you'll see him chase Shaggy around. Unfortunately for Geronimo, you cannot save him like the witch, and it doesn't matter if you eliminate or spare him. Once you get the witch to give Shaggy a ride, he's gone for good, unless you restart the whole game. Geronimo is actually quite interesting in this part. When Shaggy runs to the corner, he backs off from him and stands in place. After you talk to Shaggy, he won't be able to see you until you hit the pressure plate, and sometimes when you hide from him or jump over him, he doesn't look around like usual, so probably a glitch, but I think it's funny. And this also happens in the hallway section in the kitchen.
It's Geronimo! Rummy! It's Geronimo!
The next one is a ghost, found in a one-way trip to the crypt Part 1, and the ghost lies inside this coffin once you pull on this chain. It will fly around the coffin, but push that button and the ghost permanently dies by falling through the floor. Finally, a way to actually get rid of them. However, the whole point of this button is to activate these moving blocks to reach the top bit. As long as you don't push the button, the ghost will stay here forever, and besides, you can access the top by taking the alternate route. There's also another ghost in this room which you see fly around at the top of the gargoyle in a forced scene the first time you enter this room. You can actually see it hover in place if you climb on these chains. Never really knew this ghost was still here this whole time. I learned about it from a YouTuber called Mortal, linked to his channel in the description. To confirm this is the same ghost, I activated some cheats to get to the top bit first, trapped the ghost in gum, and when I triggered the forced cutscene at the start, the ghost wasn't there. So they are the same, and the ghost only moves along there in that scene, and it doesn't come back up at all if you trap it in gum. Since I talked about the second ghost in the crypt, I also want to mention some enemies you briefly see in a scene when you enter a part and then they despawn for good, by getting killed by nothing. There's the ghost in Mind Your Manners Part 2, the witch in Gloom and Doom Down the Tomb Part 1, and the creeper in Who's Yellin' the Cellar Part 4. You'll see these three enemies chasing Shaggy, and then they all disappear, but with the ghost and certainly the witch, you can see them get killed by air. I know they are just for a brief scene to show that Shaggy still exists, and he's always terrified of everything, but I figured I'd mention them. And even with cheats activated, you can't catch sight of the ghost or creeper, or even Shaggy from traversing the part backwards.
Right? Creepers! It's the creeper! Whoa! Help! We did it, Scoob! Like, what was that? Zoinks! Run, Scoob! Yeah!
The final two despawning enemies in the game are the Ghost Diver in Shiver Your Timbers Scooby Part 2, and also the Shark in Mastermind Unmasked Part 1. The Shark is another obvious one, mainly because you need to get rid of it in order to save Shaggy and progress to the end. The Ghost Diver who shows up in Redbeard's quarters after the boss fight will despawn if you eliminate him, and just like with the Witch and Ghost, you can still keep him forever, but let's be honest, who's gonna come back in here? You can't get back in here the way you came in, due to the door not working, and then you gotta lure Caveman as leverage to get back in.
Right? Right? That takes care of him, but I didn't bring my water wings. Get rid of that water, pal. Right?
Scooby-Doo, what you gonna do? Next villain is on. Supplying the swords
Well, there you have it, folks. Those are all the enemies that permanently despawn in the game. It's kinda weird how the developers made these specific ones disappear forever, especially with enemies such as Geronimo and Captain Moody in the Redbeard fight, since their second appearance is only temporary. One thing I liked doing a lot as a kid was, after I beat the game, I'd walk through every part and back without warping, and keeping the 3 savable despawning enemies around for that made it so that I have an extra monster to defeat. But anyways, hope you enjoyed today's small fact video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.